Okay, I think I'm live now. Hello, everybody. Guess who's back on Saturday night? I want to thank. I see we had like 23 folks over there waiting in the chat. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Unfortunately, George is having a little bit of trouble with his computer. He's been sending me emails. Computer was acting up and he's restarting. So I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. I figured I'd go ahead and get on here and, get it going instead of keeping you guys waiting. And George will be with us shortly, I'm sure. So, I know full well what computer problems are like, as y'all well know too, because I used to have them all the time on Saturday nights. So, but hopefully everything will go good and he'll get it going and join us here in a little bit. I want to thank everybody, like I said, for tuning in. We've already got 30-some folks watching, and you guys are awesome. Is there any questions I can take before George joins us? We've got a bunch of folks over there. Ron Cleveland, Mark Lindsay, CNC, Hobbies Wood Shop, Inscode Designs, Sean Martyr, Jeff Wilder. Let's see, Corey Oral, I think. Bubba Hogue, Crosscut Creations, Sean Martyr. Appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, hopefully George will be joining us very shortly. I keep checking my emails here just to see. Hey, Michael Truman, how you doing? Orl. Okay, Corey Orl. Okay. Thank you, Corey. I'm pretty bad at butchering folks' names. If it's not Smith or Jones or something, I can usually screw it up. Carl Whitaker in the house. How you doing, Carl? Herb Lichtenberg. How you doing, Herb? Like I said, I'm just if you just joined, I'm waiting on George to join us. He's had some computer issues, had to restart his computer, I think, a couple of times. And I just went ahead and started the broadcast, and so I wouldn't keep y'all waiting. Anybody got any questions about anything? Escajado Woodworking, how you doing, Eloy? Landis Stutes. Robert Petrie, good evening. Tim Guba, how you doing, Tim? Leo Steger. Good crowd here tonight. Well, I hadn't got an email from George here recently, unless one pops in now, so. I don't know if that's good news or bad news. We'll see. But he did tell me he got the link, so he should be joining us whenever he can get his computer to settle down. Sometimes it's JP Woodwork in the house. What's up, JP? Steve from Harnell Media. Glad to see you on here, Steve. Ernest Sanford. How you doing, Ernest? I saw Landis Stutes had a question there. He said he's been running a CNC, I don't remember what it was, 5 hours a day for a while, and said he's starting to see things come loose. How often do you check? I don't know. I'm the world's worst at that because I never check anything, but I guess I just get it tight to start with because I never have anything come loose. As we've talked about before, you should probably, if you're talking about couplers or something, you can take some white out or nail polish or whatever, and put on there to put a witness mark on there. That way you can see if it's coming loose. Trevor Carter in the house. How you doing, Trevor? Saw that cool picture of your, what was it, a Tree of Life tray, I think you had on Facebook a little while. Well, Herb, I'm going to ask him that when I can get him on here. I don't know if you want. I don't even want to get started talking about it till he shows up, because I know he's. I'm confident he's going to be here in a few minutes, and we'll ask him all those questions then. What did I miss? Had to refresh the page. Well, Trevor, so far you haven't really missed a whole lot. I went ahead and went live just because it was getting late, and I didn't want to keep y'all waiting over there. I knew we had a bunch of folks waiting in the chat. But George Vondriska is going to be joining me tonight, but he's having a little problem with his computer, and he had to restart it a couple of times or something. So I don't know. Hopefully he'll be joining us here shortly. Dave, what's your take on Hall effect limit home switches? I'm not sure, Ernest, what you mean. Is that a brand? Hall effect limit home switches. I'm not sure. Corey, let's see. He's got a question. He says, while we wait, Xylotech CNC kit. That's getting ready to scroll up. Oh, let's see. Where is that scroll bar? I think I missed that. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get it before it scrolls up again. Question, while we wait, Xylotech CNC kit came back online for sale and price point is ideal, but the lead shine has fancy. What say you as I am finalizing the parts list for my Garage Works purchase? I would think that I haven't, I obviously haven't bought one of the newer Xylotech things, which now it's basically the components. He's not putting it in a plug and play thing, but it's basically the same component. So I have no reason to doubt the quality there. The lead shine is also very nice. So I think George is with us now. George, you snuck in here on me.
I am so sorry. My desktop computer here at the shop, maybe it's because it's 15 below outside and my furnace puked in the shop today and it's a little cold in here. So my computer is just being so doggy. So I'm very, very sorry for being so late.
Well, I know I don't move too fast when it's 15 degrees or 15 below or whatever it was. So not a problem. I understand completely. Stuff, that's the way computer stuff is. I've had issues like that before, and it is what it is. But we're glad you're here now. This is, you're the guy everybody's been waiting to see. We got a good crowd over here already. We got, I think, 59 folks watching. A good bunch of folks over there in the chat. So let's just get started. I've already had somebody ask me in the chat what I guess how you got started with a CNC and stuff like that. So I'll just kind of turn it over to you and let you give us a little background on that.
All right. Well, probably 5 years ago, a friend of mine who works for ShopBot said to me, I think you'd really like this. And it's Randy Johnson, and I've known him for probably 30 years. So I know him very well. He knows me very well. And he said, I think you'd really like this CNC thing. You should explore this. So one thing kind of led to another, and I ended up with a 18 by 24 ShopBot in here. And I messed with it. And he was right. He knew me pretty well. I got on top of the VCarve Pro software. And kind of the more I played with that machine, the more I was intrigued by the whole concept. So that eventually led to today I have 4 CNC machines in my shop. I finished a book last fall, co-wrote that with Randy. That'll publish from Spring Hill Press in March or so of this year. I've done a bunch of video. I've taught a lot of classes. So I consider myself a great poster child for, I'm 57. I had not done any designing or drawing on a computer ever in my life until VCarve. And I feel like I'm on top of this. You know, I'm not pushing it quite to its limits, but I do it a lot on the CNC. So my feeling being, if I can learn this, anybody can learn this. And when I teach the classes, that's really the approach I take, is try to make it accessible, help people overcome the hurdles of the design software, and just get comfortable with it. So today it's kind of like, wood is easy. What cool stuff can I cut? You know, I want to engrave glass. I want to cut styrofoam. I want to cut brass. I want to cut bronze. I want to see what else the machine is capable of. So that's the Cliff Notes version of my CNC story, I guess.
Yeah, well, I have to say I've watched several of your videos, especially the CNC ones, because I'm a little partial to those. But I mean, I've been doing CNC a long time, but you've already done some stuff that I haven't ever even tried yet. I just haven't got around to it. Like I saw the video the other day where you were doing the foam, and I don't know why. I've been doing this all these years, and I just never have tried.
The builder foam was one of the neater things I've done, and then marrying that to that foam coat product, which is available on Amazon. Man, you put that foam coat on there, and that does not look like, it looks like a piece of clay or stucco, or you can turn that foam into anything. So yeah, that was one of the neater things I've done on the CNC, I think.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned your first one was a shop bot, and you said you had 4 now, and I think I know which ones they are just from watching your videos. I know I've seen a video where you had a shop bot, a Shark, Next Wave Automation Shark, and then a Laguna IQ. And then I saw a live a while back where you had a digital wood carver. So I'm assuming that's the 4 you're talking about.
So today I've got 2 shop bots. I've got a 18 by 24 and a 24 by 36. I've got a Laguna IQ that's 24 by 36. The Next Wave Shark is I want to say like 20 by 20, or I'm not sure of the bed size on that. And then I had an Iconic in here for about 2 months for video work.
Okay, yeah, I believe, yeah, you're right. I think it was an Iconic. I misspoke. I said digital wood carver, but it was an Iconic, I think.
Yeah.
So when you're going from, like if you do a video and you're showing how to do something on, say, the shop bot, and then you move over to the, say, the Shark or something, do you have any issues going between the different machines, or are they all similar enough? Because I know some of them use proprietary software, don't they?
Yeah. The Next Wave that I have and the both shop bot machines interface with a PC. The Laguna interfaces with a fob. In all honesty, I like the PC interface a little bit better. I think there's a little more feedback there. There's a little more interaction. I'll tell you what, one of the things that drives me nuts on the fobs, I'm big on, when I create a file name or a toolpath name, I use a lot of information there. 0.25 ball nose, 3D finish, elephant head. So when I call that up, I want to know exactly what it is I'm asking that thing to do. And part of that is making sure I'm machining in the correct sequence, that the elephant head roughing pass gets done before the finishing pass or whatever. On those fobs, it takes all those characters and it reduces them to like 3 characters. So it kind of drives me nuts. And I think in a teaching environment, high school, middle school, I don't like that very much, because I think when you have people who are brand new to CNC, that's a good way to make a mistake. You run the wrong file first, just by not having enough characters in that fob. But net, at the end of the day, XY0, Z0, probably the thing that messes me up the most, because I forget, is, for instance, on the ShopBot, the X is in the 36 direction. On the Laguna, the X is in the 24-inch direction. So if I've got a piece, if I've got something that I've originally run tool paths on the ShopBot for, and then the next time I do it on the Laguna, I've screwed up a few pieces of wood because I've got it oriented the wrong way, based on the XY being different on the machines. But you know, overall, honestly, I think if for somebody who wants to learn CNC, the software is 85 or 90% of the battle, and the machine is 10 or 15%, because they're all pretty similar.
Yeah. Well, you say you prefer the, and I'm the same way. I'm an old Mach 3 user with a PC. I've tried some other things where you run it off of a flash drive, and like you said, you get the shortened file names, and I make enough mistakes as it is without that working against me. Yeah. So I prefer that. But of the machines, as far, you know, the 4 machines you have there in your shop, is there one that you kind of lean towards for your personal projects, or are they pretty much all the same?
Well, you know, it's a mixed bag, because I like the PC interface on the ShopBot. However, ShopBot does not put T-tracks in their table. So anytime I'm fastening something down on the spoil board, I'm using screws or shop-made wooden hold downs or something. The Laguna has the pod. However, it's got T-tracks. And if you want to get stuff on and off a table fast, it's, boy, is it hard to beat T-tracks and Rockler hold downs. It's that's my #1 go-to on getting stuff on and off the machine. So I guess part of it is, and it depends. I routinely CNC these slats. I could run out and get one. It's a 2.5-inch wide, I don't know, 48-inch long piece of Trex, and a name gets put into it. And I'll for a company, I'll make 30 of those at a time. Well, they're going to go on the Laguna, because I can get them on and off so fast because of the T-track. Other stuff, I guess I lean toward the ShopBot again because of that interface. But at the end of the day, like if we take those 2 large format beds, you know, the 224 by 36s, outside of the T-track, I'm pretty comfortable running either one, asking either one to do what I want it to do. And as far as holding tolerance and that kind of stuff, they're both doing very well for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you got started in this with your ShopBot, which I guess that was your first one,
yep.
I mean, did you get any kind of training from somebody, or did you just kind of jump on it and take over yourself?
I jumped in. I looked online for video or whatever other resources I could find. But yeah, I think, you know, I remember being deathly afraid the first time I powered up the machine and I was going to ask it to do something, because I mean, you could break a bit, you could drive the bit through the spoil board and into the aluminum below. I mean, you know, there's 8 million things that can go wrong, including ruining this piece of wood. So yeah, I was pretty nervous the first few go-rounds, but yeah, I was pretty self-taught on it, and just I'm proud to say I think I've only broken 1 bit in the time I've had the machine, and that was because, or the machines, I used the machine as a plotter, so I had a felt tip in the spindle, which means the spindle is turned off. And then the next time I used the machine, I was cutting wood, and I forgot to turn the spindle back on. So I start it, and I'm walking away saying, "That sounds funny." Well, yeah, because it didn't sound. You know, there was no spindle. And so that 1/4-inch cutter just ramped down into the wood and snapped off because it wasn't running. But I feel at the end of the day, like for only having broken 1 bit with the, I don't know, hundreds of minutes, thousands of minutes I have on those machines, I'm pretty happy with that. That's okay. I'll take that.
Yeah, I got to say, I was very impressed when I started watching the videos, and I thought, well, let me just go see how far back I can go to see how long you've been doing this. You've been doing it, what, maybe 3 years.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, I've been in this shop 5, and I didn't start this CNC stuff until after I got here. So yeah, 3 years is probably a pretty accurate from when I got the first machine.
Yeah, well, I got to say I'm impressed. I've watched several of your I guess tutorial videos where you're showing how to do things in Vectric and all that. And I'd say you got a pretty good handle on all that for the short time you've been doing it.
Thanks. Thank you.
And let's see, I got a list of questions here that I was going to try to ask if you. Now, do you do with all these different machines? Have you done any videos doing reviews of those machines, or are you just doing tutorials with them?
Yeah, I'm only doing the tutorials, and I'm not. I don't know about the review. I get asked all the time, so what machine would you buy? And of course I say, well, I would call Dave Gatton is what I would do and buy his machine. But it's
checks in the mail, George.
Yeah, okay. I'm not in an evaluative position. I mean, I guess I've learned stuff just intuitively about the machines because I've got a lot of hours on them, but I'm really not doing a head-to-head competition or review of the machines I have in the shop. Same with when the Iconic was here. Run it, see what it does. But yeah, I'm not tool testing them per se.
Yeah. Well, I do have to say also too that I'm so happy when I see somebody who's, and don't take this the wrong way, but somebody who's not necessarily known for their CNC work, because you've been a woodworker forever. But it's good to see somebody that, I guess embraces the CNC technology into their shop as just another tool in the shop.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a great story. I think it probably, it might have been 15, 20 years ago. I was teaching at the woodworking shows. And after the show, I'm at dinner with a bunch of people, some of whom are teachers like me, some of whom are vendors at the show. And I said, one of the things I think is interesting is watching industry, big industry, trickle into the home hobbyist level. So for instance, when I was a production manager of a commercial cabinet shop, Castle machines were the way that you created screw pockets. And that was, we didn't pocket hole stuff together, we castled stuff together. That was just the ubiquitous machine for that operation was the Castle. Eventually Craig and other companies made it where for whatever, $40, you can buy this thing that lets anybody make a screw pocket. Similarly, at that same cabinet shop, the Lamello biscuit joiner was the only biscuit joiner money could buy. It was $600. Like nobody owned a biscuit joiner, and today you can buy a Ryobi for $69. So I said, okay, in the same vein, I see the time is going to come when $250,000 CNC machines will become accessible to home hobbyist woodworkers, just like a table saw is. And holy buckets, the table goes mad. No, that's not real woodworking. When that happens, that's the apocalypse and the world is going to end. And the irony is that like one of these guys is selling a dovetail jig, and one of these guys is selling, I don't know, a table saw jig. Okay, so then how far do you want to turn the clock back? Then quit selling the dovetail jig and make everybody hand cut them, and quit selling table saws and make everybody use a rip saw. And to me, I do embrace it because I think at the end of the day, you still better know how a router bit works. And the one thing you're not getting is the tactile feedback of holding the router and knowing, okay, this is cutting kind of hard. I'm going to slow my feed rate down. And that's what we would do tactily when we're handheld. But with the CNC, you got to know that stuff and control the feed rate and the chip load and know your material and know your router bits. And so you're still the woodworker who's making all this happen. And it honestly, I love when people say that's not woodworking, because I kind of like having this argument. It's crazy. I'm telling you, if Duncan Fife had access to plywood to build his furniture, he would have used it because he was in business to make money. And it's just, like I said, it's how far do you want to turn the clock back on tools? And this is just one more advance that makes stuff bigger, better, faster, stronger, I think. And it's one more tool in the shop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always looked at it like that. And that's, just to give you a little of my background, if you don't know much about me, that's kind of how I got started in all of this. Is I used to, started doing YouTube videos. And this is my old CNC back here. This is about 10, 11 years old. And it didn't matter what kind of project I was doing. It might be all traditional tools, or it might be just CNC, or it might be a combination of both. I might make a dovetail box and then engrave the lid or something with the CNC. And I would always get people just, oh, well, that's not real woodworking. You're cheating. You're using a CNC, blah, blah, blah. And I just got so tired of that I finally just at the end of one video said, okay, look, it's not that hard to build a CNC. I'll show you guys how. If anybody wants to know, send me a message or whatever. Man, I got bombarded with messages. And so that's how I got started doing all this stuff that I do now.
Yeah.
But it's just another tool in the shop. And the best thing that I like about it, and I'm sure you can agree, is I like to fire up something on the CNC and then go off and do something else. So it's like a helper that you don't have to pay anything. It doesn't get tired, doesn't take lunch breaks. And
well, my standing joke is, and I'm with you. I love from a I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed for 20 years. So from a business model perspective, I love the fact that I can multitask. It's like getting royalties off of something, because that machine is there working while I'm editing a video or whatever it is I'm doing. And that employee shows up sober every day, always knows how to read a tape measure, and does exactly what I tell it to do. And it's today with the price point on these machines, I think if you're in a small business environment, the payback is pretty fast, because it's just because of their capabilities. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Now, a while ago, you mentioned, you said something about jigs. Do you use your CNCs to help you create shop fixtures or jigs for around the shop?
Yeah, I have. Probably the biggest application of that was my middle kid wanted to make an electric guitar that required lots of pockets for electronics. And so rather than put the guitar body on the CNC, at this point in time, I wasn't comfortable enough to take this African black limba that we paid like $25 a board foot for and put that on the CNC. But I was very comfortable to put pieces of plywood on the CNC and make templates and jigs for all the routing that we had to do on the guitar. And that worked very well for that. But I guess outside of that application, I guess the other thing I've done is make patterns for routing in butterflies in natural edge furniture. That's probably been my other big thing on pieces that are too big to just put on the CNC themselves. Yeah, that's about it for jigs, I guess, for me.
Yeah. I just recently, everybody's making the wedgie sleds, and I recently made one, but of course I used the CNC to make it, because to me, my background has always been, well, it's in sheet metal, but I've always done 3D modeling and stuff like that. So to me, I can probably draw it faster and run it on the CNC than I could doing all that manual layout and stuff like that. So I just love the fact you can use CNCs for fixtures and, a lot of things that people don't think about. I think some folks just think you get a CNC and you make signs or, something like that. But it's really up to your imagination what you can do with the thing.
Yeah, I think, a couple of things really intrigue me. One is the engraving bits that Widget Works sells that'll engrave glass and marble and granite. what a cool thing to do on the CNC. And there's a great thing, like, tell me how you're going to do that in a standard wood shop in the absence of a CNC. You know, so my kid finished his Eagle Scout project. So we got a big piece of granite countertop and offcut from a local shop, and we engraved that, you know, it's kind of a tombstone sort of a thing, but we engraved the name of the project, the date he did it, his name, that it was his Eagle Scout service project. How would you do that in my shop in the absence of a diamond drag and that CNC? What a great thing. So that's pretty neat. This concept of using it as a plotter. The middle kid who built the guitar is a really good artist. So I've taken a lot of her artwork that's this big, 5x7, and then scanned it in and expanded it, and then drawn it with felt tips on the CNC to give her a poster size rendition of the thing that she drew this big. That's amazing. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's your only limitation is what you can think of, and go from there.
Okay. I think I'm starting to see quite a few questions over there in the chat, so I think I'll go ahead and start taking some of the questions for you in the chat, George. Herb Lichtenberg says, I see 3 guitars hanging in George's shop. Were those built using the CNC by chance? So this one with the funny body shape, that's the only one of those I made. The other ones are, I don't know, some standard off-the-shelf guitar. And this was made 20 years ago, probably way before I had any access to a CNC. Okay. Let's see. I think I had a question for George. You mentioned Widget Works. Have you used the pressure foot yet?
Nope. What is that, Dave? Is that for vinyl cutting? Is that what that goes with? The pressure foot and the knife?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So no, I haven't. My 2 things from Widget Works are the diamond drag and the felt tips. But the other thing I want to try with that diamond, they make a 90-degree tip. What would that be? A 90-degree tip and a 120-degree tip. The 90-degree tip will actually score glass to a point where you can break it. And Widget Works has told me stained glass people are using that for stained glass work. And that intrigues the heck out of me. Like to create shape in glass on the CNC, score it, break it, incorporate that into, I mean, it could be as simple as cut a pocket in a piece of wood and then lay the glass in there that you scored and snapped on the CNC. That's pretty cool. But I haven't tried that yet, but they told me it's doable with that 90-degree diamond drag.
Yeah, the question about the pressure foot, I think, was from Mark Lindsay, and he says the pressure foot is for vinyl and veneer cutting.
Yeah, nope, haven't tried it yet.
Okay. Let's see. I also noticed people are putting over there in the chat a link for your Woodworkers Guild of America. I have a link as well in the video description, folks. So if you miss it in the chat, you can click on it there to go find George. And he's got, how many videos you've got now total, George? I mean, you
well, like videos, but not just CNC videos.
Yeah, your total channel there.
About 130 2-hour DVDs and 1,000 YouTube type clips, and I don't know, a lot of stuff. Many minutes of video content. I can bore anybody to tears. If you have a sleep issue, just go on GOA, find one of my videos, and you'll be dozing in no time. It'll take care of that problem right away.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know there's a lot of good information over there. And as far as the CNC videos, I know you've got at least, I don't know, a good handful or so of those.
I'd say a good dozen or so CNC related stuff. And we finally, on GOA, we finally isolated that as its own category. I really pushed for that it really needs to be a standalone category. So yeah, the easiest thing is just in the upper right-hand corner on the home page. If you put in CNC in the search bar, that'll get you there. to all the CNC related videos.
Okay. I've got maybe another question or two here if I can read these without my glasses. Anybody over there in the chat have any other questions for George? Let me look at my list again. Well, I was going to save this till the end, but I guess I'll go ahead and ask you this one now. Now that you got your feet wet with CNC and you ran several different models and stuff like this, what advice would you give to the person that is looking to add a CNC to their workshop?
Do it. Buy one. Buy one from Dave. So when I get asked, what should I buy? And I guess maybe that leans toward this question. I think, you got to look at your budget. You got to look at what it is that you want to do, because you can get what Next Wave makes a 9x13 bed. That's the Piranha, I think. Yeah. So if 9x13 works for you, cool, go. But that ain't going to cut a cabinet side. So in addition to your budget, the next thing to think about is what you want to do. I would advise toward spindles more so than routers. It costs more money, but long term, I think you're better off. It's interesting. The spindle on the ShopBot machine is air cooled. It's a more expensive device than the spindle on the Laguna. But on the Laguna, I have to always make sure I remember to plug in the pump on the water cool. So far, I haven't forgotten, but I kind of hate that I got to remember to do that so I don't toast the spindle. And honestly, I don't know if that thing can run 6 minutes, 6 hours, or 6 years without being water cooled before it fries, but I don't want to find that out. So, spindles are good. T-tracks are good. I like the ShopBot machine, but I hate that it doesn't have a T-track in the bed. And I would say anticipate. I would lean toward a bigger bed because you want to anticipate your future growth. It's the fact that today you want to make small signs doesn't mean that in the future you're not going to want to cut bigger stuff. And there are workarounds. Like when all I had was that 18x24 ShopBot. One of the first things I did was an 18x60 sign, because built into Vectric, built into VCarve, there are tiling functions. So you can feed stuff through, and it's pretty simple to do. However, it's simpler to do if you have a bigger bed. So I would default toward a little bit bigger bed if there's any question in your mind. I don't know. I rambled a lot. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure if I.
Well, yeah, I think so. I don't know if you're like me, but I have a couple of Facebook groups on CNC groups on Facebook, and and I'm also a member of some of the other CNC related groups on Facebook. And I always get tickled when somebody will post a question. They've just recently joined the group and they throw out a question like, well, I'm looking to get into CNC. What should I buy?
Yeah.
And immediately you get, comments, you get ShopBot. Everybody, they're naming whatever they have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in fact, I posted a big long comment that I pinned in my Facebook groups. You really need to stop and think about at least 3 things. But you mentioned one, budget is a big factor. The other thing is, what do you want to do with it? You want, like you said, you want to make something, little signs or plaques, or, are you into, you already have a product that you're making maybe by hand and you want to automate it. You need something big. So you really have to think about those kind of things. But I'm always tickled because they throw that question out there and people just, boom, there they go.
Yeah.
Rattling off all these different brand names and stuff. So
I think it's like that with any tool advice. You get a statistic of 1. I mean, I'm in a unique position where I own or I've touched and run 5 or 6 brands of machines, and I own 3 brands of machines. And I know that, but that's weird and unique, but it is hard when you just jump on a forum and get that statistic of what you don't want to be misled by that statistic of 1, that just because somebody says this machine is really good or really bad, you still better do a little more research to make sure that that's what you do or don't want. So.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, the budget and the space you have to put one is probably going to decide, you know, where you start looking anyway. So, and I'm the same way when I go to buy something. When I go to get, well, a few years back when I have a rigid R4512 table saw, and when I was mostly thinking about it because it was, you know, pretty decent price, and I don't need anything real fancy, and I don't really have the room for anything, a real big one. And I looked on Amazon and read the reviews, and for every one person that said it was great, somebody else said, "Oh no, they're junk." And
yeah.
So after spending hours reading reviews, I didn't know any more than I did.
Yeah.
When I started, I bought one anyway, and I guess I got lucky because mine was pretty much dead on right out of the box. So
yeah.
You never know. Do we have any other questions over there? Let's see. I did see one, Mike Fulton from MF Woodshop. He said it was kind of a off-topic question, but I know the people that have seen you put I don't know whether it's Facebook Live or Instagram, where you've been in Texas helping April out.
Yeah.
Everybody's wanting to know how big that shop is.
It's 40 by 72 with 12-foot walls.
Wow. So about 3,000 square feet, pretty close.
Yeah, the shop itself is like 2,800 and change, and then she's got on one side there's I keep calling it the veranda. That's not what she calls it. 12 feet wide, the length of the shop, and that'll be roofed, but no walls. So part of her premise there is that, you know, of course it's Texas, so even, you know, now winter in Texas, it was 60. Boy, does that suck, huh? But she'll be able to work outside under that covered area for much of the year, sanding, finishing, that kind of stuff. So net, she comes out to like 3,600 square feet if you include that covered area.
Yeah. And I think Mike also wanted to know, is construction your background?
Well, I worked my way through college with a construction company. We did residential and commercial. So that's where it started for me. So that was like in the 80s, probably like 78 to 86 or so. And then I've been lucky. Projects have come along. I put a 2,000 square foot addition on the house I lived in. So I got my hand back into construction there. And, you know, it's just like every once in a while, somebody comes along and says, "Can you help me with this?" Just frequently enough that it keeps my head in the game. So same with this. When April was looking for a little help with the framing, we talked about it a lot. And I don't know, it went great. Built walls, set trusses. I was talking to her today about it. There was no major setbacks. We didn't have to tear any walls apart because doors and windows were in the wrong spot. You know, no major reworks. The whole thing went crazy smooth. So it went great.
Now, is this something that she designed herself as far as where the windows go and the rooms?
Yep. Yeah. So she worked with a drafts person, but yeah, she told them what she wanted, and then they went from there. So there was there's a copy of it here somewhere. There was a conventional, like, architect's blueprint drawn up of the building based on her needs, her wants. And then it went from the designer to the lumberyard. The lumberyard did the material takeoff, and it went from there to she and I, and we started pounding nails and putting it together.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I guess this YouTube thing's working out for her then, huh?
It would seem so. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very happy for her. She's been in I mean, even at her old house, she was in kind of a limited space, and now where she is, half of a 2-car garage, and she needs a dedicated space. This is going to be so good for her. Dedicated woodworking space, dedicated metalworking space. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, should see some good things coming out of her channel now with adding that metalworking.
Yep.
I see another question for you, George. I know. Let's see how much time we got. Yeah, we still got a few minutes here. It says, does George use a router or a spindle?
Every machine I have has a spindle in it.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another one. For those of us unfamiliar, what is Woodworking Guild of America?
It's basically an online woodworking magazine. So we started this thing, I got to think a second. October of 2007, we shot the very first video. And the deal was there was a company that wanted to do woodworking content. And they had kind of the infrastructure to do it, but they didn't have a woodworker. I wanted to do woodworking content, online, but I didn't have the infrastructure. So we managed to meet, shot that video in October of 2007, and basically created a magazine of which there's no print form. Everything is online. And of course, being online, we can take advantage of, we do have conventional articles that are photo text, but we're very video heavy, just because it's so much easier to learn. And teaching is my background. I wanted to be a shop teacher when I grew up. And I think that still rubs off in what I do. The difference is just I'm teaching primarily now by electronic means. I'm teaching through video and streaming instead of teaching in a high school shop. So yeah, it's www.goa.com is everything we have ever published is archived on there. I guess that's the other difference against print publications, is that when you get this month's issue of this print magazine, how do you keep track of all the other 5 years, 10 years worth of stuff? And with us, everything is online. It's always been online. So we're kind of the cloud of woodworking. It's everything we've ever published is archived online. So pretty deep. 6 other, it's not just me. It's the difference between me and other YouTubers is that in my case, I'm the primary guy on WWGOA, but I've got 6 contributing editors that work for me, and they also produce content. So it's not just my view of woodworking, it's Paul's and Seth's and Bruce's and Dave's, and everybody comes together to make the whole thing work.
Mm-hmm. And again, just in case anybody missed me saying it earlier, the link to Woodworkers Guild of America, actually, I think it's the link to the YouTube channel is down below.
Great.
So make sure you hit that. I saw another question for you, George. Let's see. Corey Orel says, Dave, question for George. Any laser used with CNCs? And if so, what size and what is your preference?
Yeah, I haven't. And here's and stop me if you know more about this than I, Dave, but here's what I was told by the guy at Axiom Tools, Todd Damon, is that when you exceed like a pretty low number, like 5 watts or 4 watts or something like that, the FDA starts to control lasers because they're considered a medical device. So I had an Epilogue laser in my shop for quite a while. That was a 50-watt machine, and I loved it. And to me, it makes great sense. We've already got X, Y, and Z. Let's put a laser on this CNC. However, the FDA ain't feeling the love on the idea that on a CNC machine, the sides are open, and yes, you could get down there and let it burn your eyeball out. So it's been really, really tightly regulated and really difficult for CNC companies to incorporate laser in their machines because they're not, like on the Epilogue, it looked like a big microwave oven. it only operated when the lid was closed, and as soon as you opened it, the laser would shut off. And obviously that's not the case with CNC machines. So I think the one that runs from Next Wave is 3 watt. It burns stuff. Obviously compared to the 50 watt Epilogue I had, it doesn't have that much horsepower. But it's, I've seen it at shows. I haven't used it in my own shop. So it's unfortunate. It's too bad that these limitations are on it, because I think it's, man, would that be a wonderfully versatile thing to add to a CNC machine?
Yeah, I have a JTech Photonics. It's a 2.8 watt, so not much at all, but it's fun to engrave with, and it's basically what it's for. I guess you could cut if you wanted to take forever and make several passes, but it's basically for engraving. And I don't really use it a whole lot. I have it set up on one of my demo machines in my garage, and I haven't really played around with it much. I'm usually making dust.
Yeah.
Of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, for me at this point, there's a laser company close to me, and they've done a lot of work for me, and they're great. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to bust my butt too hard to figure it out in my world, because they don't charge me a lot of money, and they're really good at it, and I just take my stuff to them with the sort of the infrequency with which I need a laser engraving done. I just let them take care of it.
Yeah. Okay, Leo Steger is asking, what is the subscription fee for WWGOA? And
yes.
Of course, remember that George just said, once you sign up, everything's there from when they first started. So
yeah, I think that the yearly subscription it's either $35 or $39. But if you're not already in, here's what I would do, is go to the page, and you can just sign up to get the free newsletter. And if you do that, I bet within a week, you're going to get an email that says for like $7, you can get a 1-year subscription. If you watch your email, you're going to get a deal on that first year that's crazy inexpensive. And that's a great way to it'll be under $10. And that's a great way to just dip your toe in the water and see if this is for you. And then once that year is up, if you want to renew, you can renew. But I think the regular annual rate is around, call it $40 or so. And again, the difference, if we want to compare to print publications, is that when that bi-monthly issue comes from somebody else, and either you put it on a shelf or you recycle it, for us, it's cumulative. All the information is always there, and there's just, at this point, 9 years into this, 10 years into this, there's literally thousands of pieces of information on the website, video, article, all sorts of different formats. So a lot of content. I think it's still a great value. I'm a little biased.
You're exactly right, George, because I did exactly that. I clicked for the newsletter a week or so ago, and then today I got just a ridiculously low, I'll even say less than $5 is what my email was, to go become a premium member. So we want, and we do that on purpose, because we want people to just experiment with it and see if it's for them. And if not, for whatever, $5 or $10 a year, that's not a bad risk. And if you choose to re-up, you can re-up. And if not, that's okay too. Okay, we're getting close to the top of the hour. I do have another question or two for you. I don't know if I don't see any more in the chat, but aside, not counting the CNC, you got a gazillion tools in your shop. What is there one thing that you like using more than anything else? Yep. If I could quit everything I do and turn bowls all day, I'd be all over that. I love turning. I did a bowl turning class here today, and that's
it's still my favorite thing. I think it's one of the first tools I ever got. I was about 12 or 13, and a friend of the family gave me a Craftsman lathe. And I'm probably lucky I'm not dead, because it was just any piece of wood I could find, I would put on there, and I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was turning bowls without cutting them round first. I didn't have a bandsaw. I didn't have anything. I remember somebody gave me a butcher block countertop, and I remember taking a handsaw and cutting squares out of this maple butcher block countertop and putting them on a faceplate and turning bowls. I remember getting a flannel shirt caught in the lathe and getting kind of sucked into the machine. And, so I'm lucky to be alive, I think. But I love turning bowls. I've got a garage next to my shop. If I take brush to the compost pile, I probably come back with more stuff than I'm dropping off, because if there are logs there that look cool, I'll bring them back. So I've got a pile of logs. I'll probably never in my life get on the lathe because I just won't have time. But I love turning bowls. That's probably my favorite thing.
Yeah, I tell you what, other than the CNC, I spend so much time, cutting the kits that I sell and stuff like that. I haven't had a lot of time, but since things have slowed down here for the holiday season and stuff, I've started to go down that lathe rabbit hole myself. I had an old Rockler lathe that I traded something for, and was in the middle of turning just a little bottle stopper or whatever, and it quit running, and the motor was real hot. And so I thought, well, I can either hunt for a new motor for it, or I can just buy a new lathe. So I just bought a new lathe. That was a little easier. Plus I wanted one anyway. So I got the little Nova Comet 2.
That's a great machine.
And I'm having a ball with that. And like you say, bowls, I like the segmented stuff. That's why I made my wedgie sled. Sound like Elmer Fudd. Wedgie sled. Because I want to start getting into a lot of the segmented stuff. Big fan of Kyle Toth.
Yeah.
That guy is just awesome, what he does with the lathe. But yeah, pretty cool. So Corey in the chat says a lathe is therapeutic.
I agree.
I guess I would agree with that. Yep. Okay, well, I think we're about into it for an hour here. You got anything you want to add, George?
Well, I just appreciate you considering including me on this, Dave. I'd be happy to do this again anytime. I feel honored to be considered a CNC guy. I don't know. It's neat.
Well, yeah, I would definitely consider you a CNC guy. And I mean, you may not be aware of this, George, but I used to do these Saturday shows. They were called CNC with Dave, is what I called them, for lack of basically because I couldn't think of anything else. And I did shows on Saturday for about a year and a half, I guess. And then last July, I just decided to stop doing them. I, had some other things going on and wanted to do some other things. And there was hardly a week go by, and this is all for everybody out there watching tonight too. There's hardly a week go by that I didn't get an email from somebody saying, man, I wish you'd bring back the Saturday shows. So you are the first guest of the brand new show format, George. So thank you very much for being on. It was really cool to have you on and talk about CNC and other stuff too.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Any last questions? Last chance, folks. Anybody got any more questions for George before we sign off here?
The shop dog is here, sleeping comfortably. Come here, Sheila. Show your face on the. There she is.
Yeah, I saw her. I saw her sneak up there earlier. Got to have a shop dog.
I have a shop dog.
Okay, I don't see any other questions other than everybody saying thanks, George, for coming on tonight. And looks like we got this one kicked off right. So tuning in. We've had a good crowd here all night. Lots of good questions. So So thanks again for tuning in. George, as always, thank you.
You bet.
And I guess we'll put this one in the books, folks. Everybody have a great weekend.